All right, welcome back to the best edition of the Three Stooges podcast. Why is it the best edition? Because it's the current edition, and we got the CIF Sac-Joaquin Section football playoffs to break down. We're going to take a look at all eight divisions. How can there be eight divisions? Well, you got the largest school, Division One, all the way down to the smallest school, smallest participation number, Division Eight, which is the eight man, and we'll break that all that down and players to look for, games to look for. They all start this Friday at home site, 7 p.m. There's no junior varsity games. There's no senior night. These games will kick off on time. We'll all be home by curfew. How's that? Some of us have ankle monitors that we run around with. We have to be home by the witching hour. So, closing thoughts real quick on the CIF Sac-Joaquin Section bowl games. In our office at the Sacramento Bee, we did not uppercase them in bowls. We did not call them championship bowls, though on the pennants that were given to those winners, the 29 games the other day, and those for teams that did not make the section playoffs. I don't like that. I don't like that it's called a championship. There's no championship to it. So that's kind of my rant. Chris Jackson, you got the floor on that. That's Chris Jackson of West Coast Preps, Georgeson of Gold Country Media. We're all going to bounce around on this and then get down to the brackets.
Yeah, Joe, I'm with you on that. We can't call these championships. We can't call these champions. Teams win first round playoff games and they were better teams seeded for that spot, not bowl games. Then why shouldn't they get a banner and maybe a banner that they can hang, right? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's not the spirit of competition there. Just call them bowl games, plain and simple. We can't, I don't like the idea of the banners for it either when you don't get banners for winning a playoff game or two, right? If we're going to start doing this, we're going to have to give banners for every single thing that we start doing in America. And I don't know if that's really what we want to start doing, right? I don't know if we want to have just, I don't know what's the right way to call it, participation trophy banners in some ways too for champions and whatnot. There is a champion at the end, and that is at Hughes Stadium on Black Friday in the day right after that on Saturday. So those are the champions. Congratulations if you win a bowl game, but we've got to change that and make sure that we're not calling them champions and maybe the banners are just too much as well, right? I think we're just doing overkill there now. When you look at the bowls, they wanted to have less blowouts, right? If you look at the data, there's still a ton of blowouts, right? 27 games Friday, seven decided by 7 points or less. Average margin of victory, 19 and a half. 11 games decided by 25 or more. Let's go back to the last 2 years of first round playoff games. Last year, 20.96 average margin of victory. 2023 first round, 26.4 points for average margin of victory. 6 games decided by 7 points or less. 15 games decided by 25 or more points. Yes, the number for the bowl games, that average margin of victory is better. You technically accomplished, I don't know, the data of being smaller results, smaller blowouts, whatever you want to call it, right? Closer games, but what did we really accomplish there? Still a ton of blowouts, still not a really good average margin of victory. So I'm not really sure what we really achieved doing this. Maybe we make changes in the future of less teams playing bowl games, right? We shouldn't have one win teams or winless teams playing in bowl games. And quite frankly, most of them, I don't think, want to keep their seasons going anyway. As one coach had said on Twitter, it just made our bad season that much worse to lose a bowl game in front of not a ton of fans. So we've got to make changes to that. Maybe there's a team GPA requirement as well. If you want to play another game, it shouldn't just be because of what you maybe did on the field. Maybe you should earn that from success off the field. We're supposed to promote champions off the field, right? Student athletes. Maybe that's a way to do it, right? I had somebody mention, well, what if people start forging grades and stuff like that? I don't think anybody's going to be forging grades to be playing in a bowl game, plain and simple. If you are, we start looking in the mirror and having a lot of questions there, but there's got to be different ways we can go about this. Less teams, less games, different requirements, maybe that really cool, I don't know, team GPA that really makes you earn that reward for that extra game. Because if you're a great student, odds are you're probably working really hard on the field too.
Yeah, and kind of piggybacking off what you said, I think first things first, we do need to lessen the number of games. I mean, when we were getting some of these games where there were two 1-9 teams playing against each other, those teams want their seasons to be over too. They just want to get on to their next sport. A couple interesting things too. I mean, an idea that I had on this, and Chris, I know I've kind of talked to you guys about this before, but if there's a way with these bowl games, if we want to make them a bowl game that's not a championship. Why don't we just call them what they are in terms of it being a glorified exhibition and call them foundation bowls and make it a foundation game for the section? I mean, it feels like, there's an idea of something to where the proceeds from this are going to a charity. They go to scholarships for, these kids, these athletes, stuff like that. I mean, just an idea with that. But I mean, Chris, to your point, them giving out the banners for this, I mean, that just feels wrong, especially when we're not giving banners to these teams that are going to be losing on Friday night when they had a better season because they were a higher ranked team. I actually at the volleyball and flag football championships on Saturday, I was talking to a few ADs and section officials when I was covering games there, and I talked to one of a school that won a bowl game, and he basically said, we're not putting that banner up in our gym. He's like, I don't think our coach wants to put it up anywhere, but if he does, we can put it up in the locker room, in the weight room, but that's not going in the gym. And, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I look at it from a standpoint too of, let's say basketball season rolls around. If your rival schools coming into your gym and they see a bowl game championship banner in there when you made the playoffs in football, you're not hearing the end of that from the other student section. And, little things like that. I mean, calling them bowl game champions, it just feels like we're giving out these handouts. And, I've heard mixed things where I talked to some schools that had bad seasons and they said the kids aren't necessarily excited. They're excited to get one more game together and whatnot, but they're also at the same time, they're going through the motions because these are essentially glorified scrimmages. And I think that's the tough thing about this. And we got some good matchups. And the other thing too is some of these matchups we got though just didn't make any sense. I mean, it makes no sense to have Burbank going to play Colfax when some of these other teams were in that pool, or having Lyndhurst play Bear River for a second time when they opened the season against each other, when there were closer games they could have had. I don't like the idea of getting rematches. I don't like the idea of making teams travel like that, like a Burbank to a Colfax type of thing. I've heard the crowds were not great at these things. There was one person that compared it to a high school soccer game, just saying, the stands were barely full, and maybe you got some in the student section, but people just didn't seem to, around the town, whatnot, didn't seem to care about it. I admire the section for coming up with, different ideas and whatnot. It just kind of feels like these were a flop, and maybe it's because we had too many of them. Maybe, who knows, if we dwindle it down to 10 bowl games, maybe things look a little bit different in a few years and people show up to these and maybe there's a little more reason to go. I just don't love the idea of how this was implemented. I think there's some bitterness still from some of these schools too that were on the cusp of this happening in the middle of the season, 4 weeks before the postseason started. I think those schools that are the 9 and the 10 maybe have a little sour taste in their mouth because they feel like they could have been playing in an opening round playoff game. And yeah, maybe you lose those games, but at the end of the day, at least you got to hang your head and say we lost a playoff game, or we made it to a playoff game, not we made it to a bowl game. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just, if these bowl games are going to stick around, we need to find a way to tweak it. We need to find a way to just kind of generate some excitement for this and not have empty stadiums with kids who don't want to be there. And I think another big thing with it too is you look at some schools that just are struggling with numbers, and maybe it's a real, sluggish race to just get to the finish line at the end of the season. I think we need to maybe look at some of these things and, maybe there isn't a punishment if schools decide to opt out of a bowl game. Maybe they should be allowed to do that, especially if you have low numbers. I mean, it kind of almost feels unfair to say, hey, no, you have to play this extra game. If you're a coach that's sitting there like, we have 14 able-bodied kids right now and half of them are basketball players, we just went 1-9. Like, it almost feels in a way mean to make these schools play another game if they don't want to play it. So I think if there's an opt-out type of situation, and if we just dwindle the numbers, then maybe it's something we can get excited about. But I mean, I just feel like they're making the bowl games a bigger spectacle sometimes than some of the, playoff games and championship games we see.
Well, a great point from both of you guys. The good thing about this section, and there are 10 sections in California, and they're all governed differently, and this is the second largest of 10 in the state, is Will DeBoer, one of the assistant commissioners there, and Mike Garrison, the head commissioner. They are willing to listen to change and ideas and proposals. They don't want to hear complaints. They don't want to hear ranting and raving emails and voicemails, because we're in a society of bickering and complaining. come up with proposals. And I think all three of us are in agreement, and all the people I've talked to is let's whittle these games down to 10 bowl games. You know, you got to have at least 3 wins or maybe 4 wins. None of this 1 win or winless or 2 wins. It just doesn't work. Reword there's no championship to it, just bowl. 2026 bowl, 2025 bowl, or something like that. So, done with all of that, we move on. We're going to start breaking down the section brackets. We're going to go with the 8 man. And people are thinking, 8 man, what are we talking about? That's a new wrinkle for this section. That's a feather in the section's cap. There's some of these teams in the 8 man field. You got Miraloma, Valley, Delta of Clarksburg, Valley Christian of Placer County, Vacaville Christian, Encino of Sacramento, Forest Hill of Placer County, Florin of Elk Grove Unified. We've talked about this on this show. We've talked about it in stories on social media. 8 man helped save these teams from folding for good, including Florin and Valley, which a year ago, two Sacramento schools, Elk Grove Unified, folded their program. So, Jordan, I'm going to go back to you. Maryland was the top seed. Forest Hill of Placer County is the second seed. What do you see real quick? How do you size up of the 8 man?
I think this bracket is it's very much feels like a three-team race right now. Miraloma, Forest Hill, and Vacaville Christian have all kind of pulled away in terms of the top teams in this. There is a really interesting first round matchup though in Delta Valley Christian, that 4-5 matchup. Delta, they actually played twice in the regular season, which you don't often see in football. Delta won the first one, Valley Christian won the second one. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. And then I think the potential semifinal between Vacaville Christian and Forest Hill can be fantastic. That game went down to the wire the first time it was played. I was at that one. Forest Hill won, I think, 29-26. Up in Forest Hill, the rematch would be up there. And, it's been a long time since Forest Hill has been playing playoff football. I think it's been 10 years. But I've been told that, we're seeing a big storm coming in next week. There's been years in the past where Forest Hills hosted playoff games in the snow up there because it is as high as you get in the section. So I think that could be a fun wrinkle and a fun rematch. Vacaville Christian feels like a team that's finding its stride right now, and I think they're a sleeper in this. I don't think Forest Hill or Miraloma should feel great about potentially seeing them a second time because that is a team that is extremely talented. And I think any of those three teams can really beat each other if they were to see each other. So I'm really excited about how this is going to play out. What I love about this too is it's all teams that have not traditionally, or at least have not in recent years, been very good football schools. And someone's going to be winning a section title that is not really used to hoisting these blue banners in football. So I think that's going to be a fun little wrinkle to this and a cool thing to see a program kind of find some success for the first time.
Oh, well said. All right. And I think we all agree that Miraloma is unbeaten. Well, there's no debate about that. But Jesse Collins is the coach there, and the Matadors from yesteryear, football power. It's good to see them doing well. And Chris, quick thoughts on Jesse Collins. He coaches multiple sports there. I think he's an alum of the school. It's a powerhouse academic school. Great for the Matadors of the San Juan Unified. To now they got to back it up, and I think they love their challenge.
I have to agree with you. They are undefeated, right? And I think Jesse would agree with that too, right? I love how that happens. They have definitely earned it. The turnaround they've had, seen numbers go back up, and their quarterback, D'Angelo Keys, embodies that team, right? He's a kid that's always standing next to Jesse Collins on the sideline. He's been doing that for a couple of years. I think Jesse Collins has said last month, essentially he was in his pocket, right? Because that's just how close they were. He was just absorbing everything he could. And it shows. He's got 26 touchdown passes, just 5 interceptions. They got two really powerful running backs, Lima Kaiuba and Frankie Ares Mendez, who will both have over 7 yards of carry. Ares Mendez over 11. And then Vacaville Christian's another team I think that's finding its stride. They had a team in 2019 that went to the section semifinals. They brought back a lot from that team. Look at Kendall Allen, a Jerron Leak, some guys that had college opportunities. Then COVID hit. They didn't play football that year. And felt like a chance just robbed, unfortunately, for them. And maybe this is that team that, I don't know, wins it for some of those teams in the past. And Coach Manny Tarango's got the squad rolling. He's got a senior like Dylan Eddings. Jordan, you saw him, and you said, quite frankly, he was a beast, right? 6'4", leading passer, leading rusher. Vacaville Christian's hot. They're playing really well. They played Forest Hill really close. They were within 2 points of Miraloma. So I would like to think that a team like that, a program like that, is gonna make a run.
Yeah, no, I think it's all good stuff. And Division 7, we've got so many 209 area code schools here, small towns, in which the high school is named after them, Rio Vista. It's Rio Vista the town, Rio Vista High School. It's Linden the town, Linden the high school. It's Denair the town, Denair the high school. Same with Mariposa County, Somerville. It's really great. We know that Linden's got some great personal pedigree where Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees was knocking people around in football and hitting home runs, moonshots for Linden years ago. Rio Vista is one of those neat little towns on the Sacramento River. Calaveras at the top seed. Stone Ridge Christian of Merced is the number 2 seed. Any thoughts on this at all, Jordan? And then we'll go to you, Chris.
I think the biggest thought I have from this is do not sleep on Linden in this bracket. A 7 seed feels very low for that team, given some of the wins they have. I mean, 6-4 overall, but opened the season with a win over Destiny Christian. They only lost to Houston by 7. And then, I mean, some big wins. I know they lost to Calaveras. They lost by 1 to Somerville, but and this is a Linden team that has proved early in the year that it can hang with some of the best in this area. And I think that they had that 30-point loss to Calaveras, but losing by 1 to Somerville, that's one that they're going to potentially have circled with a chance of a rematch in that second round. If you're Stone Ridge getting that 2 seed, I don't think you love seeing Linden on the other side of the bracket from you. I think they probably feel like they might have been a little better suited if they ended up having to go up against Rio Vista. But that being said, I think that's a sleeper in there. And then how about Denair too? I think that could be a sleeper team as well. They're coming into this at 8-2, second place in their league. I know they had that loss to Somerville, but they beat Stone Ridge Christian, and they lost to Mariposa in overtime by 1, so they're getting a rematch there. I think those are 2 sleepers in this bracket that I wouldn't be shocked to see Linden and Denair make a little bit of noise.
Chris Jackson, anything?
Well, how about the Motherlode League? Jordan mentions one of them, Linden, Calaveras, Somerville. There is some good teams. Somerville defending state champ, right? There was them and Sonora from Tuolumne County that made that run, and Somerville's another one of those top seeds. But Jordan, I'm going to kind of piggyback off Linden. They are built for postseason football, especially when you mention maybe sloppy conditions, right? You've got a let's just say 1,400-yard rusher. He's at 13.99. Let's round it up. Andrew Juarez, great running back. You got DeAndre Smith as one of the more prolific receivers on the section. Yeah, you can say D7 this, D7 that. I put on his huddle film. He looked pretty good. He can compete at some higher levels if you're watching that. But we're gonna have some rematches. I really like this Calaveras team, what they've done, what they've shown this year to go 8-2. They lost by 1 point to Bradshaw Christian earlier in the year. Their only other loss was to Ripon Christian. Then a couple of blowouts in there. Beat Somerville, beat Linden by 30. They're hot. They're riding a big wave, and this might just be their team. And they got a really good ground game as well. You've got Hernandez over 1,100 rushing yards. You got a couple of good running backs there. Good O line. They play tough physical football, and Calaveras football is still a team to beat. But I'm with you, Jordan. Linden's got a chance to really make a run, and I don't know, what do we call it? Do we call it March Madness in college basketball? How about some November Madness? The season's already been crazy. Don't be surprised if a 7 seed makes a pretty deep run.
All right, Division 6 in the Sac-Joaquin Section football playoffs. So all those games start Friday at home site, 7 p.m. The section championships are the weekend of Thanksgiving at a great venue. We all appreciate it. It's Hughes Stadium on the campus of Sacramento City College. They used to play NFL exhibition games there in the 50s and 60s. Can you believe that? The Oakland Raiders won their first game in franchise history. Was an exhibition game there in 1960 and beat the New York Titans, coached by Sammy Baugh, before they became the Jets. And Sammy Baugh, Hall of Famer from even decades earlier. And so pretty great venue for those things. All right, Division 6. The top seed is Sonora, and that's a program that has dwindled in enrollment, but has maintained a remarkable championship level. They were playing Del Oro 30 years ago for section championships, beat Randy Fasani or played Randy Fasani and the Del Oro Golden Eagles for Division II or Division III championships way back in the day. So we all applaud these small schools that hang on. So Sonora is the top seed in Division 6. Liberty Ranch, the Hawks of Galt are 10-0 as well. So there's two 10-0 teams there. The number 2 seed, Liberty Ranch. But the game I'm intrigued with is the 4-5 matchup. The Woodland Christian Cardinals of Yolo County have championship pedigree, won section championships, NorCal championship, state championship 2 years ago, went 15-0. Some of those kids are still there. Coach Plasky is still there. Bradshaw Christian has got a lot of championships as well. Blue banners on gym wall. Jordan, they hang those up with pride. They got championships in their trophy case. We're in the section finals last year, lost a tough one. Coach Drew Rickert and the guys like to get back. So that's one of the great games there. But Jordan, back to you. Can anybody beat Sonora? I mean, it's high school football, anything goes. But that looks like a heavy. That looks as solid of the championship pick as any of the divisions.
Yeah, I think Sonora looks like, one of the heavy favorites in this. A potential um, rematch of last year's final with Woodland Christian, the semifinal. That one could be interesting just because, there's that sense of pride there a little bit of, hey, this is a team that beat you in the final last year. So maybe, but that's also assuming Woodland Christian gets past Bradshaw Christian. That game should be a fun one. Liberty Ranch, tons of talent with that program, but it just feels like Sonora's tournament to lose right here. And Joe, a fun fact for you, that Sonora team that won the D2 final that beat DO, they were led by current DO coach Josh Perry. He was the running back of that Sonora team. And Chris, I know we've talked about it. We know the CIF is, they do competitive equity when we get to state. We know a lot of that has to do with where teams are ranked. And when you see where Sonora is ranked in the section, I mean, if there was a world that Del Oro wins the D2 final, is it crazy to say we could see a Sonora Del Oro NorCal championship game?
We,
I think,
I'm with
they
you.
probably would end up in different divisions, but I think they're close enough in the rankings that it it's not as far-fetched as it kind of sounds like when you say it initially. Um, I'd love to see that. And I will say, anyone on the fence, especially Wheatland fans listening, if you've not been down to Dunleavy Field and watched a football game there, make the trip. Do yourself a favor. A beautiful stadium. We talk about how great some of these foothill towns are. I've raved about Placer Stadium and Colfax's and whatnot. Dunleavy might be the most beautiful high school football field I have seen in person. They have a creek running through the campus right behind the stadium. It's built into a mountainside, just an awesome environment to watch a game. And yeah, I think the Sonora team is looking like they're going to be winning this bracket and, really kind of in control of their own destiny here.
Well, Chris, real quick before we get to you, great note, Jordan, about Josh Perry. I trust that he didn't have the big beard when he was in high school. Could you imagine taking that guy on with the beard? I mean, even without the beard, he's a formidable foe. But and when you were talking about could there be a Del Oro Sonora matchup if they win section championships, what you're alluding to is all the section champions in California go to a NorCal bowl game, a real bowl game, a real championship, and it's done by competitive equity and rankings and all that. So, how can a small school Sonora be that good? Chris, what is up with Sonora? What do they got? What are they doing besides the great vibe and the great tradition? Who are some of their guys that are making them such a loaded outfit?
This is their team, right? And you looked at it, all they returned. They returned most of that 2026 class. They returned seven, I should say their top seven rushers from last year. They run the ball just down your throat, down your throat. They are at 3,300 rushing yards this year. Got a few guys, 500, 600, 700 yards. They've been without Tommy Sutton, their top fullback for quite some time, but Cash Byington, Cash Money, as we like to call him, over 12 yards a carry. Eli Ingalls is their quarterback. Throws the ball really well, completes 79% of his passes. Stephen Ali, Brody Spear. It is a senior class that just plays together, plays great football. Stephen Morefoot, 5 interceptions. Their coach, Kirk Clifton, he is one of just those great leaders, one of those class acts, one of those guys that players love to play for. And it shows. They're undefeated. They've beat teams bigger than them. They're D6. They've beat D1 Turlock. They've beat D3 Oakdale 10-0. It's hard to not see them winning, but if there's a group that I really like to look at, it's Liberty Ranch. I think this Liberty Ranch team is Sonora of last year. They just happen to be in Sonora's bracket. And who knows? Maybe Liberty Ranch goes on a run and wins because they have a group that has played together since youth ball, since a lot of just great winning seasons with the Junior Hawks when Liberty Ranch is stockpiled with juniors and you've got your four top rushers are juniors, three. Yeah, they're up, and three of them are 1,000-yard rushers, I should say, too. Ryan Ogus is a quarterback who is a playmaker on defense, runs the ball well and effective in the pass game. When you've got Andrew Quinn, Joe Lara, Wyatt Cray, you've got guys on defense like Deshaun Jackson. Not that Deshaun Jackson we think of in the NFL, but you know what? He is that good at this level at Liberty Ranch. He deserves a lot of kudos because he is a great two-way lineman. You've got Sony Takafua Tupo, who's just playing with a heavy heart. His grandfather had just passed away before that Rosemont game, and he's honoring him really well, playing with that same passion and ferocity. And they get to the ball, they get a lot of stops in the backfield. And when you've got 93 tackles for loss in 10 games, that's going to create some matchup problems. So Liberty Ranch is one of those teams. I'm not saying Sonora's not going to win this bracket because this is Sonora's to lose, but Liberty Ranch is one of those teams. If they don't get it this year, I'll just say it, I'll bookmark it for next year.
No, it's good. And a real dark horse is the 3 seed, the Ripon Christian. Phil Graham's a terrific guy, terrific coach, section championship pedigree from Capital Christian of Sacramento, which now is Destiny Christian. So this is the fun thing is the 1 and 2 seed, both 10-0. By seeding alone, they should meet in the section finals. But the football's not round, and weird things happen. You get weather and good coaches, and maybe sometimes funky plays and all that. So stay tuned. All right, Division 5 is really interesting, and top seeded Casa Roble Rams are the San Juan Unified taking on Oakmont in the first round, and then Hillmar from the 209 is the number 2 seed. People are wondering, well, why isn't Sutter the number 2 seed, and had Sutter gone 10-0 and beaten Casa Roble in week 10 to win the Golden Empire League Championship, Sutter would have been the number 1 seed. So there's some good debate there. I certainly like Casa Roble to get to the final and to win it. Would be Coach Chris Horner's second section championship in the last few years. Aiden Lopez, we know how tough and gritty he is. He gets blown up, gets up, and keeps going. Sutter's got a terrific team. They're great at home on grass. They have a national recruit rush end and Bowens and a good run game. Chris Jackson, what do you know about Hillmar, the Yellow Jackets? I know they're a storied program. They've been around forever. Can they get to the finals? And if it got to a second round game with Hillmar and Sutter, well, who wins that game?
Hillmar's always one of those programs that's super tough, right? They've played Casa Roble numerous times in semifinals, made runs. They've got a great old line. They got a 6'7" lineman, Ortiz, who is one of the best in the region. They run the ball super effectively, well coached. Another one of those communities. You think of TVL football. Hillmar is one of those programs, one of those communities. Kids that have grown up with each other, known each other forever. Got a great playmaker on the outside, Nathan Ayala. They're battle tested, right? You might say, oh, 6-4, number 2 seed. I probably would have had Sutter still at the 2 seed, but you can see why. Hillmar was within 1 point of Sonora, who we just ceded so much praise to, a score away from Houston, right? And they've dealt with some injuries this year, last year, and all that, but they keep finding ways. They got a 24-point win over Atwater. It's tough to make that trip down to Hillmar, especially when you're going not just from Sacramento to Hillmar, but you're going from Sutter, Yuba City, down to Hillmar. I really like what the Sutter team has, though, the defense. Troy Bowens, Andrew Barker moving down from Oregon has really just added to that defense and wreaking havoc. It's probably the 50th time I've said this. It's probably annoying at this point, but how many high schools have two 6'4", 240 plus edge rushers? Sutter has those. Gavin Lavoie, Troy Bowens, a great defense. I do think Braden Scritchfield's going to answer the call. Osi Asiata, a great family father, the NFL brother at Fresno State. The kid just doesn't go down, right? He's got this incredible contact balance, strongest in the weight room. I said, I think, what was it? Last week, the podcast before that, at this point of the year, I can't remember all the days, right? But I think I had said whoever wins that regular season game, the loser that wins the section championship. So I guess by my words, Sutter could win the section title and will win the section title, but it's also just so hard for me to pick against Casa Roble at this point. What they've done ever since that Ponderosa loss is just dominate, right? Aiden Lopez, that is a college football quarterback. I don't care what anybody else says. He is a kid that can at least play FCS football. I'm that confident in him. Felix Rodriguez is another one of those receivers. Jared Alexander, Jalen Barsanis is quite the fast running back. They've got athletes all over the field, a really good defense. Dunaden Tupou is only a sophomore. Xander Fridag, you got Rodriguez is everywhere on defense too. I mean, you name it there. Casa Roble's got that group again, and they might be deeper than that team that won the section final 2 years ago. And we all remember Cole Owens, Elijah Huddle, Connor Campbell, Evan Combs, Daniel Renner, all those guys. That was one ridiculously good team. And this Castle team has that look. They have that making. They have that depth. And when you have a quarterback that everybody rallies around and a kid that's that tough, it's a team you think could play into December.
No, it is. It's good stuff. Meanwhile, the Lincoln Zebras up in Placer County, the four seed 2 years ago, one win, now 9-1. Quarterback Eli Duff, a proven coach in Allen Berg. You have seen this team, Jordan. The Lincoln Zebras are the four seed. They're going to open with Lathrop. If the seedings hold, Lincoln could play at Casa Roble in a second round game. What do you like, Jordan, about the Lincoln Zebras, and how about their remarkable turnaround in 2 years? And all those kids stayed loyal and they didn't leave in an era where people just scatter. The Zebras are to be applauded here. This is great work to get in the playoffs, and they have the potential to keep winning.
I agree. I think this is actually one of the better first round matchups because Lathrop is actually 9-1 as well, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, tough draw to both go 9-1 and end up the 4 and 5 seeds. But when you look at who's in front of them, I mean, it makes sense. But this is a Lincoln team. I think one of the things I love about them the most is one, they find ways to get you in different ways. They can attack you with Eli Duff and, their potent weapons on the outside. They've got, Mason Bolzer, a great athlete just at the entire school. He might be the best athlete in the whole school already, and he's only a sophomore. Julian Defoe, another big one there. And then they can also attack you with the ground attack. Brock Gaylor, his cousin's a great tight end over at Delaware, the Washington State commit Luke Gaylor. But Brock Gaylor is quite the ball player in his own right. He's a section champion in baseball already, and a lot of these guys were on that section championship baseball team, so they got that taste of winning a blue banner. But Gaylor, here's what I love about him too, the way he plays. Two-way guy, just hard nosed. If you ask me to cast Tim Riggins with a kid in the Sac-Joaquin section right now, Brock Taylor would be up there. He's a former bull rider and he runs the football the way that you would expect a bull rider to run the football. I mean, just a great kid to talk to. I got to give him credit too because I picked against Lincoln in a game earlier this year and watched him win that game 33-0. And he thanked me at halftime for picking against him, saying it motivated them. And I was like, you know what? I love that he did that. Just great kid, great interview, good kid to talk to. So I really do like this Lincoln team. What's tough for them is this is a stacked Division 5 field right now, and that Casa Roble matchup is going to be a tough one. But I am with you, Chris. If I had to pick a winner of this, I think I'm going to go Sutter just because I think that Sutter Hillmar matchup is going to be a great one. And Sutter's just one of those teams that I feel like it's tough to count out. And when you put them and Casa Roble against each other, if you made them play 10 times, I think they go 5-5 against one another. So I'm going to go and give Sutter kind of my pick with this. And another thing, I guess, circling back on Lincoln to note on, this is a team that is also uh, one unsportsmanlike penalty and late touchdown away from being 10-0. They lost to Pierce by, I think, 3 or 4 points earlier this year. They were up in the final minute of that game, and an unsportsmanlike penalty or a late hit penalty, I can't remember what it was, moved them down the field, and then they gave up a long touchdown with 12 seconds left in that game. That doesn't happen. This Lincoln team's 10-0, and I think they maybe make this a little bit tougher of a seating for the section committee right here because I don't know if they would have Lincoln as a 4 seed if they were 10-0 in that situation. So maybe the seating committee is breathing a sigh of relief that Pierce got that win. I'll say this: I would have not wanted that job of seeding those first 4 seeds if Lincoln was 10-0 going into that because that would have been a very daunting task to look at. But I mean, kudos to them and. Because they've been together for so long, they've been through the losing together. They won a title together in baseball. I think that's a program that you can't count out in this bracket.
No, well said, well said. All right, breaking down all the section championships, we're going from the smallest all the way to the largest. Now we're in Division 4. 12 Bridges, the Raging Rhinos of Lincoln. Boy, they play good football out there in Lincoln. You get the Lincoln Zebras almost 10-0, 9-1 otherwise. And then 12 Bridges with its third consecutive 10-0 regular season. Great job by Chris Bean, the coach, and his staff. So that's the top seed. The number 2 seed is Roseville. Those are league rivals from the Foothill Valley League. It would seem likely that these teams will meet again in the section finals. A dark horse is Placer, has not been healthy all season. Great coach in Joey Montoya. Need to get everybody on healthy again. Need to shore up that defense, but a dangerous team there. Chris Jackson, I think we'd be stunned if it's not a 12 Bridges versus Roseville rematch. And Roseville lost a shootout late in the regular season to 12 Bridges, but I'm going to have Jordan in a minute size up 12 Bridges, but what do you like about Roseville and and could number three Houston down in the 209 cause some problems in this bracket?
I love this Roseville team and I love this senior class. If you look at it, it's a senior class across all sports, right? JJ Yawn is a great basketball player, a great football player. They bring back so much talent in basketball with him, Ritter, Matthias Howard, but it's his football season, right? And you got him, 6'5" receiver. Jordan, you has sent me clips from that 12 Bridges game. Either you did or Aaron did, where it was just the moves he makes and everything else. You know what? That kid slept on. We can confidently say that he is that good. Mason Cisnaro is a really prolific quarterback. You got running backs that keep running over people. DeMarcus Gresham, Colton Wolf, you name it, and Kenny McClure on the outside. You got to think Adam Ranking's team is chomping at the bit to see 12 Bridges again, considering how close that was. It's just a matter of in that rematch who gets the first stop. Got to think whoever gets the first stop is feeling pretty good, but Houston's got that experience, three straight section titles, a state title on that run. I'm looking at East Union, though, too, in terms of just matchups, what they have. You got to get past Placer first. It's always hard for me to pick against Joey Montoya, that run game and what they can do, but East Union's got another just great set of athletes. JP Abreu, who is father. That's a family that's everywhere, right? You got an uncle that is a freaking head coach in town, a father that played at East Union, a whole bunch of other stuff as well. He's a stud. He's got an Air Force offer. Jackson Fay, the UC Davis commit, is electric. He go in the backfield, receiver, special team star. You got a quarterback whose father is also the principal, Kirk Simone. They're prolific. They're athletic. They put up a lot of points. Matchup wise, they are going to cause problems. Interested to see though how they throw the ball, how they run the ball, and how Placer runs the ball against them too. But East Union is a very sneaky good 4 seed, and you could say Placer's a sneaky good 5 seed too because of their schedule, who they played early on. They always like the schedule tough early on, like Castle Roble, these kinds of teams playing in the FEL, 12 Bridges, Roseville, all that. But it's still 12 Bridges to lose when you haven't lost a regular season game since 2022 without seniors. You've got Connor Frontiera, a great leader, senior quarterback. Some good linemen, athletes on the outside. Dylan Amos, 6'3", really just a stud. They're kind of showing us some plays like his cousin Grayson Barnes makes out there too. But I'm liking the idea of a 12 Bridges Roseville rematch. And I picked 12 Bridges, but don't be surprised if Roseville makes this thing pretty freaking interesting because this is their group, this is their team, and don't doubt a team that's as motivated as them.
That's right. And superbly coached. Adam Ranking's done some good work at Roseville, one of the old traditional schools in this section. And Jordan, you've seen 12 Bridges over the years. They've got the linebacker, running back, Chase Walenko, and good quarterback play. Is there an unsung guy or two that could really help seal the deal for 12 Bridges as they chase down another section NorCal championship?
I think the biggest thing with 12 Bridges is, we talk about the passing game. We talk about what we've seen from the line from Chase Woledko. Chris Bean, when we talked to him at the beginning of the year, Chris, you were at that Midnight Madness with me, said the biggest difference on this year's team is there was no star. I mean, Woledko's your star running back, but there was no Braden Ward or Nathan Crawford on this team. He said it was going to be a 3-horse kind of type of backfield, maybe even a 4-horse backfield. And I think those can be the young sun guys in this. A Josh Chittum, a Daniel Amel. I think Matthew Marquez has made plays in the passing and the running game. I think those are kind of some of the guys that you're going to look at, because when you get that playoff football and it becomes smash mouth and the hits are a little harder, the teams you're playing are a little bigger, maybe you're seeing a Placer team for a second time that's going to want to get you. Maybe you're seeing a Roseville team for a second time. You're seeing an East Union team that can strike quick. You don't want the ball in their hands very often. I think you're going to have to rely on that second and third back a little more than you did in the regular season in some of these games. I think those can really be the driving force behind if they get this done or not. And get this second straight section title. And then I think really the driving force behind this too, we always talk about how great of a job Chris Bean has done at 12 Bridges. I think another one that deserves his flowers for what he's able to do there is Grant Fowler as a defensive coordinator has been, in my opinion, one of the best coordinators in the entire section at any level. I think he is a big part of the success they have there. I think Chris Bean will be the first to tell you he's one of the biggest secrets to the success they have there. So that's another one, I guess, on the coaching side of it. But I think top to bottom, I mean, if you look at this bracket, it is, in my opinion, this and Division Two look like the best brackets in this section, and it's not even close. That East Union Placer game, all I'll say about that is for those that are looking, every Friday night we look at Max Preps, and there's always one score that you're like, that can't be right because it says like 84-76 on there. Someone's messing with us. I don't know if that's going to be the case if you see that for East Union Placer. These are both teams that can put up points, and I wouldn't be shocked to see that become a basketball score. My editor, who you guys both know well, Bill Poindexter, I gave him first dibs on that game because he went to East Union High School. And he's, sounds like he's going to cover it. And I told him, well, be ready to get home at 1 a.m. because I expect that one to be a complete shootout. That game really does stand out. But I am with you. It feels like we're moving towards a 12 Bridges Roseville championship, but we can't count the chickens before they hatch because Houston is a team that can make a run. East Union, with how quick they can strike, they can be dangerous. And then, like we said, Placer, a team that is down, they were down 18 starters against Roseville, and they took Roseville to the brink. Pioneer, even that's a sleeper in this. And then, I mean, you can never count out an Escalon team either. So this is going to be a fun bracket to see how it plays out. And it's crazy to pick the top two seeds when you see one like this, but just feels like these two schools are on a collision course to meet again.
Good stuff, guys. All right, Division Three, Sac-Joaquin Section football playoffs. The home openers are Friday. Section championships are that Friday and Saturday after Thanksgiving at Hughes Stadium. Division Three, the Wood Creek Timberwolves of Roseville, the number one seed, taking on Destiny Christian of Sacramento, the former Capital Christian. The 4-5 matchup is Rio Americano at Vacaville. Vanden and Merced. How's that for a traditional throwback bowl of champions? Merced's 10-0 is a 3 seed. Oakdale, West Burford, the section's all-time career rushing leader. Who's going to stop this guy? Ponderosa Bruins are a 7 seed, but a dangerous 7 seed because it's the only team that beat Casa Roble this season. So many good coaches, so many good teams. I would think it's going to be Wood Creek against Oakdale. I think that's going to be a terrific final. And something tells me I can't. I really like West Burford and what he's done. So I'm going to go on a limb there and say that they're going to win the whole deal here. I mean, Oakdale's won section championships before. Chris Jackson, who do you have in the finals? Who do you have winning it? And highlight a team or two.
I'm definitely seeing that Wood Creek Oakdale collision course here. I'm with you guys. I just love this Oakdale team. The way they run the ball. Wes Burford, he's not the only guy. Lopez. I mean, they've got dudes everywhere that can run the ball. Multiple 1,000-yard rushers there. Defense that can tackle. Wes Burford is a guy that just plays both ways and is as good as it gets. As great as he is on offense, he is a star and then some on defense. I love this Oakdale team, though. I think this is their group. I think this is their time. If I'm looking elsewhere, though, that Vacaville Rio Americano 4-5 matchup, that's a fun one because Rio Americano played Intercom really close. They beat Ponderosa, who, like you said, Joe, is the one team to beat Casa Roble. Rio Americano's got a really good quarterback, second-year head coach, doing a great job replacing Reed Sanders, and Vacaville has just played its best football at the right time, like they usually do this time of years. They've got 7 of the last MEL titles in football, and a running back like Roman Connor Owens, who just runs over people, runs through you. He's a great defender. Brody Rogers is a great outside backer, defensive end. Mike Papadopoulos that's a culture guy, a culture builder. That is a team that I'm really interested to see them and see a potential Vacaville Wood Creek semifinals matchup or Rio Americano too because of the schedule that they've played and teams that they've faced. But them and Vacaville are both battle tested, and then Merced undefeated. But Vanden, this is a team that this time of year, at least, is always in the semifinals or beyond. Multiple state championships since 2021, 3 section championships in that span, a semifinal trip the one year that they didn't win that championship in 2023. So they are a team that you're not going to want to pick against, especially with guys like Kamani Dokes, Josiah Chavez, Jaden Marquez Cook being a nickel guy and getting offers there as well. So heck, maybe Vanden's one of those six seeds that makes a run too. And history shows that they're a team that can and will do it.
Oh, it's good stuff. All right, Jordan, let's go to Division Two. And man, what a bracket. Top seeded Manteca Buffaloes. They've won a boatload of section championships. Power running team, top seed, 10-0, taking on Tracy in an opener. Another great one is Jesuit, the 5 seed, going down to Stockton to take on St. Mary's. It's tradition versus tradition. Granite Bay, the number 2 seed, taking on 10-0 Chavez of Stockton. How can Chavez be 10-0 and only a 7 seed? Not a strong league, not a strong schedule, not their fault, but they got to play who's in front of them. Alumni coaches there. Jordan, Rockland versus Del Oro. This is a neighborhood rivalry. You lived it as a student athlete, and this was a great game just a couple of weeks ago. Del Oro won by a point. Del Oro's a 3 seed, Rockland's a 6 seed. I think Rockland probably was ecstatic to have this game as their opener in Sac-Joaquin Section Division Two.
I absolutely agree with you because I think if you had Rockland line up and play that game a second time right after the final whistle on Friday, I think Rockland would have won the rematch. I think they were upset with how that ended. They were winning that whole game. They kind of dominated that game until Brock Sherman took over in the fourth quarter. And I think they've had this circled. We kind of knew it was a possibility. We were wondering if it would happen with that, especially with Rockland losing these last couple games and Chavez completing 10-0. There was some murmurs of, are they going to move Chavez up to the 6? I'm excited for this. This is a game I'm going to be at on Friday. I think it's going to go down to the wire. I think Del Oro, Chris, like you mentioned with Vacaville, they are playing their best football right now. They are motivated. They believe, and Josh Perry has those guys playing playoff style football, typical Del Oro football. Dio and Rockland have had some great playoff matchups for some great championship games before between each other. But this is what's interesting about this is I think Dio's a team that can really I could see either of these teams making a run to the championship. And I know Rockland's been sputtering right now, but they have the best quarterback in this bracket in Reeves Sloan. And I think when you have a quarterback, you have a chance. And when you have the best quarterback in the bracket, then I think you've got a chance against anyone in that bracket. Feels like Manteca's bracket to lose. But then again, I mean, the potential semifinals, St. Mary's or Jesuit, neither of those are going to be an easy draw. St. Mary's Jesuit's going to be a great game. We're going to find out who's been doing their communion, who's been going to confession, because that's the team that's going to be getting the favorable stuff. And then even Granite Bay Chavez. I mean, Granite Bay has looked like a powerhouse this season, but Chavez is a team that if Granite Bay is coming in and taking them lightly, don't be shocked if Chavez hangs around and finds a way to pull that. I'm really interested in this. I am going to go, be boring here and be chalk and say it's Manteca, Granite Bay, and I just think Manteca. I've been high on them all year. I'm not picking against them now. This is going to be a fun bracket, though, and like I said, don't be shocked to see Dio or Rockland make a run to the championship game.
That's good stuff. All right, Chris Jackson. You've seen Manteca. You like what you see. What could be a potential problem for Manteca? Is there a weakness for a 10-0 team, or do you see them storming right to the finals?
They don't have a weakness. It's one of those teams that doesn't. When you beat Cardinal Newman 40-7, you beat Central Catholic 49-7, and watching what they do, they've got long defensive backs, great linebackers like Kyron Barajas, who are just as Manteca strong, as Manteca proud as they get, and Nico Juarez at running back. Just it's amazing how they get these running backs and these kids, and he is another just prolific rusher, 3-star prospect, and Quinn Martinez on the outside. They have this kind of game changing guy with over 20 an ounce D1 offers a 3-star as well. It's hard to say that Manteca has a weakness because I really don't think that they do, especially 10-0 and the teams they faced coming out of the Valley Oak League the way they did and beating Marin Catholic, beating Cardinal Newman like they did. I like this Granite Bay team too. This is one of their groups. Joe Catalico's got a great team. When you've got Isaiah Annie, Darnell Turner are both Sacramento State bound players, and you've got Catalico's son at the quarterback spot, super smart kid. Like what they've got there. I just think this Manteca team's too good. I'm really intrigued though by all these matchups, honestly. Like Granite Bay Chavez, like Chavez 10-0. They've got some athletes, a sophomore quarterback, a great running back, and Joel Donnell. But this is all fun. Delora Rockland, how does Rockland play, especially without Jason Adams in this one as well? How does Rockland respond to that when they're playing this postseason game? Like, you think they respond pretty well, especially when you've got a senior leader like Reeves Sloan that can do so many different things. It's hard to pick against the best quarterback in the bracket. Hard to pick against Del Oro, and it's hard to pick against St. Mary's when they've got Kenneth Moore and Carter Williams and experienced quarterback like Jaden Galvin and another great receiver in Ivan Huerta. And it's hard to pick against Jesuit because they don't make excuses. They've been down linemen, running back, safeties, linebackers, you name it, and somehow, some way, they found ways to beat Rockland, to beat Oak Ridge. So I think picking against any team in this bracket's probably not the smartest thing to do, but it's still Manteca's to lose.
No, it's going to be really good. All right, Division One, Sac-Joaquin Section Football Championships. We're breaking down the players. If Reeve Sloan's the best quarterback in Division Two for Rockland, I don't argue it. The best player in the section is Ryder Lyons, also a quarterback, the five-star recruit going to BYU. He's looking for a third consecutive Division One championship. Folsom's looking for a five-peat in Section Division One, which would be a section record. They would all be under Coach Paul Doherty. It wasn't just a few years ago, right before he started winning those, when he said, "We haven't won anything yet," as he was trying to take over for Chris Richardson, who's now at Sacramento State doing great stuff as a line coach. But now it's rolling. Folsom's only loss is to Mission Viejo down in Orange County, which is actually a good loss. No loss feels good, but sometimes you need to have a wake-up call, and they got theirs. The Folsom Bulldogs got a underrated defense, got playmakers all over the place. Monterey Trail Intercom is the 5-4 seed, 4-5 bracket, or in the bracket. Intercom has a 9-game winning streak. Only loss this season was a season opener, a thriller at Monterey Trail. So there we go there. The Grant Pacers are up in Division One. It's been a few years. It's not Grant's choice. It's the sustained success model as they move them up. Got a lot of people on social media who are concussed or confused or just whatever, saying, "Oh, Grant should have just stayed down." Not up to Grant. Grant wants to be in Division One. They'll take on anybody. If you're taking on De La Salle, Cardinal Newman, the Fresno Heavies, Lincoln of San Diego, you're not afraid of anybody. So Grant takes on Edison, and then Oak Ridge, the number 2 seed, the Trojans of El Dorado Hills, taking on Central Catholic, and Roger Canepa, the winning coach, the great winning coach down at Central Catholic. He has 295 career victories at numerous schools, including the last several seasons at Central Catholic. It certainly seems like it should be Folsom getting to a section final. That's the way I see it. The real intrigue, if the seeds hold, is Grant at Oak Ridge a week from Friday. Wow, that would be fantastic. It's really good. So, Jordan, I'm going to throw to you. Quick thoughts on this bracket, and how does Folsom not get to a final?
I mean, the only way I think Folsom doesn't get to a final is if they get caught sleeping. It feels like there was a couple times in the SFL. I don't want to say they were caught sleeping in the SFL, but there were some games that I think opened some eyes in that third quarter when people would see the score on Max Preps and go, "Oh my gosh, it's only a 7-point game between Folsom and Rockland," or DO had them down to a one-score game in the fourth quarter. And there are certain times where it kind of felt like, what's going on with Folsom? But if you look at Folsom these last 2 weeks, they ran Jesuit out of the building, they ran Granite Bay out of the building. I think they're doing just fine. I think they've kicked it into that second gear that they tend to find when they get into playoff season. I think the only way that Folsom doesn't get to a final is if they kind of get caught taking their foot off the gas against a Monterey Trail or an Intercom that can maybe, stun them a little bit. Intercom took Folsom to the brink before. It's not the most unheard of thing in the world, but it does feel like we're looking at Folsom in the final, and then the question is going to be who wants the rematch with Folsom more? Is it going to be Oak Ridge wanting another shot at them, or is it going to be Grant wanting another shot at them? I think both teams were not thrilled with their first performance with them. Felt like they could have played them better. Grant certainly went into that game on ESPN feeling like they could have beaten Folsom. They, were acting like they thought they were going to beat Folsom, and then Folsom went and did what they did. But I think Grant is a team that does not like what that showing was. I think we all know Grant's better than what we saw in that game, and I think we all would expect a potential rematch to be closer. I'm going to go out and say I think that is what we're going to get for the final. I think we're going to see Folsom Grant 2.0 this time in Hughes Stadium. I'm still going to give the nod to the Bulldogs in this with Ryder Lyons, but I mean, I would not be shocked to see Grant making that a closer game and, learning from the mistakes from the first game and coming out more disciplined. And I think we kind of forget that that game on ESPN was a close game for a little bit until Folsom kind of just kicked things into a new gear. So Grant's shown the ability to hang with them. And if they can, play the Grant Pacer football that we're used to seeing in November, I don't see a reason why they don't get to Hughes Stadium and get that rematch.
Oh, that's good stuff. Chris Jackson. Do you see Oak Ridge getting to the finals and maybe flipping a switch? Oak Ridge, superbly coached with Casey Taylor, got a great roster, got some injuries, but Oak Ridge has lost to Folsom the last three times in the Section Division One championship. That's the program I think that has a great potential to close the gap. How do you see this bracket?
They really do have potential to close the gap. I just don't think it's this year with what Folsom's got and with Ryder Lyons, Jamison Powell, Rob Larson, you name it, right? Just everything that Folsom's got. It's hard. I'm not picking against Ryder Lions. I'm not picking against this Folsom team, but I think Grant would make this a much closer game at the very least. Grant admitted after the game that was not their best showing. They did not like what they showed on that game on national television. And Grant's got the athletes, Kobe Shabazz, Zoe Edwards, Blake Nykem, another great Folsom transfer quarterback. How'd the last one do? Luke Alexander played in two state titles, won one. Blake Nyckem's one of those guys too. He's throwing the ball really well, great decision maker. Comes from a great quarterback lineage at Folsom and now adding to a great tradition at Grant. I like this Grant team to make a run. I really, really do. Oak Ridge has dealt with some injuries, injury to a key guy. I think Grant makes it all the way to the championship game. I'm still picking Folsom, but that Grant Oak Ridge semifinals game, I don't know. Could that be the most well-attended semifinals game in years in this section? I think that's how big that game is. How Grant fans always show up. We remember that game at Rockland at the NorCal final in 2023, and it was Grant fans were everywhere, all lined up along the fence on the road there. I like this team. I like this program, but Folsom gets that another title, I should say, in this regime, in this era for Ryder Lions, for Jamison Powell, for those great seniors. And heck, maybe we get a Folsom Reardon NorCal final or Folsom Sarah. Who the heck knows? And the week after that, too.
Oh, this is good stuff, and that's how we size it up. I agree with Grant. It's going to have the Pacers will have a different quarterback since the season opener against Folsom. Different fleet of running backs, more experience, more seasoned. Coach Paul Doherty over at Folsom said that's going to be a showdown if that happens. He's certainly mindful of the other opponents there. Really good stuff. So there you have it for all the divisions, all the section championships, or Thanksgiving weekend at Sacramento City College at Hughes Stadium. Great venue. Go out and check out a high school game. A lot of these games will be on the NFHS stream with including our friend Matthew Cassette of ABC Jam Productions. But nothing like going to a game live. And we don't have any rain, I don't see in the forecast. So the section does a good job of holding off the rain. They do have authority, so I appreciate it. But we're going to sign off. We will be back next week as we size up more games and more players and more everything, as we certainly appreciate high school football in the Sac-Joaquin section. Joe Davidson, Chris Jackson, Jordan Georgeson. We will see everybody real soon.